There is only love.
So, thank you all for being here. I'm so very grateful for this teaching because in it I have found the real meaning of peace. See, most people talk about peace being the absence of war. Okay, talking about peace as if violence was normal. That was our default setting. Negative peace defines peace through what's absent, like peace is the absence of strife, or peace marks the end of war, or peace is nonviolence, or peace is achieved by suppressing a group from complaining. Most peace organizations fight for peace. They're anti-war. Most peace organizations are against issues, not for them. So I used to define peace that way. You should have seen me during the time when the U.S. was going to war in Iraq, when Congress was voting to authorize the war. I was arguing for peace with everybody who was listening. I was screaming that war, military force, was not the answer. In other words, I was being pretty violent. Okay? Now, to be clear, I support the men and women who signed up for the military. What I was screaming about was using military force to bring about peace. So even this week, I observed myself frothing at the mouth, gnashing my teeth, spitting mad at what I consider the ludicrous, unnecessary, back to the Dark Ages way the Supreme Court struck down unraveled the Civil Rights Act when they struck down the meat of the Voting Rights Act. And don't get me started on Congress. So when I get upset about condition outside of me, I have to consciously take a step backward and observe my own life being in order. Peace has to begin within. And when I'm screaming and posting on Facebook my angry feelings about something, I'm not at peace. And fighting for peace is ridiculous. Inner peace is my goal. Inner peace, for me, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And I've come to understand that peace is not about being against anything. A lot of peace workers promote nonviolence. We even have a season for nonviolence. Nonviolence is good, no question, but peace itself is not nonviolence. Here's what our teaching, what Ernest Holmes says peace is. Peace is mind resting in the realization that God is all. Can you just feel into that? Peace is not the absence of war. It's not non-anything. It's not non-God. No, feel into that. Peace is mind resting, relaxing into the realization that God is all there is. Everything's taken care of. We can trust that. That's peace. Now, when I was younger, I didn't want to be peaceful because I thought peace was boring. It wasn't exciting enough for me. And that's because I felt alive when I was all jacked up on whatever was happening in my life. Really, I was living through drama back then. All right? Real peace was something to fight for. See, now that was dramatic, right? But please don't misunderstand me. World peace is absolutely a great idea. It's just that I've come to understand that if I can't be at peace with the kid who bags my groceries or the guy who just cut me off on the highway, who am I to demand peace in Gaza or from the government? Thank goodness I've got Reverend Mike. It reminds me when I'm frothing out, spitting mad about all that's going on in the government, he reminds me that God is right there in Congress and all the branches of our government, knowing the perfection of divine right action is unfolding even when I can't see it. Breathe it in. Exhale. Peace is mind resting in the realization that God is all there is. Feel how powerful peace is as that living, breathing, creative, dynamic energy circulating through your life. There's peace at the center of our being, a peace that can be felt throughout the day as it shines over the earth quietly, tenderly, actively, and in the cool of the evening when we see the first stars come out. So as students of truth, we realize and maintain that we live in a peaceful universe, among peaceful people. That God is peace, God expresses itself through in each one of us. God has implanted this peace within us. And because God is peace, and because God is living in and through us, the peace of God must also be us. We align ourselves with God, as spirit within, and we're at peace. Peace is not the absence of activity, but a very vital, vibrant quality of joyous serenity where everything is in harmonious relationship. Nothing can bring you peace but yourself. That's got to be perhaps Ralph Waldo Emerson's most powerful quote, invoking the ultimate authority of the individual. Who else but yourself can bring peace into your life? And peace can never come by proxy. Now, we can hire others to do our work for us, to care for our physical needs, but no one can create peace for us. We must live peace for ourselves. Yes, horrible things happen in this world. Murder, kidnapping, rape, you name it. Stuff happens to amazingly good people. It's easy to observe an external world that doesn't look peaceful. But we don't have to suffer that. Until the day that I shuffle off the mortal coil, I am free to choose to be at peace with the world by having peace of mind. Peace is mind resting in the realization that God is all there is. Peace is within us right now. The peace that passes the human comprehension. Peace that is at the very heart of the universe. Because peace is always within us, it's always available to us. So I agree with Malcolm X, who said, you can't separate peace from freedom because no one can be at peace unless they have their freedom. We have Independence Day coming up, and this is what kind of sparked it. The divine plan is one of freedom. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. Our default nature is forever seeking to express itself in freedom. When we consciously listen to our inner small voice, our intuitive voice, it tells us of a life that is wonderful, of a love that is beyond our dreams, of peace and freedom that our soul craves. And do you know that Ernest Holmes, he was kind of political. What he said back then is still true today. When the very principles of freedom are being questioned and people seek to destroy freedom in the name of liberty, it is right and fitting that we should reaffirm our alliance to the two greatest human documents ever written. And he says, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States with the Bill of Rights. Those two documents, birthed after our Independence Day, are all about peace and freedom. So our teaching isn't just this stagnant thing that's in our textbook. It's a real living thing. The true concept of freedom is that there's enough to go around, since good is universal, but my freedom cannot infringe upon yours, or yours on mine. The good that we wish to experience and enjoy, which makes for the betterment of everyone, it brings about better health, more love, and friendship. This is a divine inheritance, freedom is. So we're created with peace and freedom of God. And in this freedom, we're free to choose what we can think. And in what we think, we're continually bringing into our lives the experience that we choose, depending upon how we direct our thought. And to say that we're free with the freedom of God doesn't mean that we're free to do that which contradicts divine nature. We're free only in the freedom that God is. We're free to be alive, to enjoy living, to enter into the activities of everyday living with enthusiasm and interest, with love. We're free to be loved and to be loved. We're free to give the full and complete expression to expanding to our very potential, the outer edges, provided that this freedom harms no one and hurts no thing. Within free will, we know that there's a scope enough for self-expression. Plenty of room to move around and express life to its fullest. The truth that sets us free, allowing us to claim our freedom, must be a truth that does not deny the unity of good. Our freedom cannot be at the expense of others. Remember, peace is the mind resting in the realization that God is all. God, that we might not be able to demonstrate or describe intellectually, mathematically, scientifically, but whose presence we can feel. An all-enveloping presence in which we find peace. And integrity ripples outward from that presence within. Right now, my confusion and my agitation over what our government, I perceive our government's doing, I have to trust that the monument, the extreme energy that it groundswells in response will somehow create balance. God is peace. I enter into a peace of mind in such a degree as I withdraw from my confusion, my anger. God is peace and cannot produce confusion. I know that peace is at the center of everything. The eternal balance of the universe is never even temporarily disturbed. It's always in balance. So there's a place within us that is always in balance. So peace stands at the door of our consciousness and awaits our acceptance of it. Well, it doesn't stand outside our door waiting for entrance so much as it stands inside ourselves, waiting to be expressed in everything that we do. Peace is natural. It's our default position. So living in the, I don't know exactly how it's going to get done, is really powerful. I just know that something greater must be birthed from all of this. Making peace requires creativity. I trust that process. I trust that creativity. So I do no harm staying peaceful, but I also make sure that I'm a good steward of God's life as me. And I don't allow myself to be a victim. So it may be time to put my old hippie social activism back on and participate in peace marches. One of Emerson's friends, Henry David Thoreau, he believed in the peace of nature. When I observe myself getting hopping mad about what I read online or what might be going on at work or even here at this center, I'm free to let go of my observations at the external world and choose to be one with nature. And this is one of the reasons that I love living in the high desert. It's so naturally spacious, so peaceful. But choosing to be with nature as a time out from my hopping mad can be just as easy as just contemplating a flower that's sitting on my desk. And so, because I'm not saying that we have to spend years in the wilderness to be at peace with ourselves. I'm saying that we acknowledge peace that has been within us since birth. And as we learn to find peace within ourselves, the world around us changes. While radiating a signal of internal peace, we attract more external peace. Peace is not boring. God is not boring. In reality, it's an embodied inner peace that makes for an intriguing life. So this last week, I had to dig deeper and take the inward journey into the infinite. Me. My gnashing of teeth, it's the result of a limited unconscious vision. My confusion is usually self-imposed. When I can't align with my true place in spirit, it's not until I blend and unite with the natural order of the universe that I can find that peace is always there, available forever, calm, serene, and at the center. So when I bring myself to a place of peace within, I realize that this is the best thing that I can do for the whole planet. One person at peace, love, light, life, power, beauty, joy, is the entire world at peace. Love, light, life, power, joy. So then, what is meaningful, visible peace? Peace is a state where individuals are not only free from bombs raining down on their heads, and free from bullets in their classroom, and free from planes falling into buildings, flying into buildings, but a place where every person enjoys the basic human rights of security, plentiful food, accessible health care, clean water, clean planet, free from the catastrophic global climate change and overwhelming pollution. Now, there's not going to be any absolute planet peace until all the nations are at peace. It's not in our power to control the thought of the nations, but we have the power to control our own thought. And through that, the thought of the nation. Peace is mind resting in the realization that God is all there is. Positive peace focuses on what is present rather than what is absent. So peace occurs when justice exists and a community has peaceful ways to resolve its differences. When will peace and freedom come to our planet? When we fully realize the truth of our own individualized being peace. And it's already here within. Our Science of Mind movement cultivates this. We awaken humanity to our own spiritual magnificence, and we make a world that works for everyone. Peace is waged eye to eye, individual to individual. And personally, I think the connectivity of the internet has done more for world peace than anything, because it brings individuals across city lines, state lines, country lines. All those boundaries are just gone on the internet. Technology used for peace is in line with the evolution of the great presence expressing. Ernest Holmes believed that we are, in this Science of Mind movement, that we're probably the most independently spiritual organization the world has ever known. So let's live up to that independence, not by taking our power, privilege, or liberty to destroy our freedom. Our movement is great because we've developed both inspiration and the intuition along with freedom. And those of us who believe in peace, we can work for peace. We don't have to struggle for peace. The very premise of our Science of Mind movement is in silent contemplation and prayerful meditation, and that sincere longing in our hearts. And so if I find myself surrounded by confusion, we can take our intellect and dive deep into our pool of peace. We meditate on peace until we feel that sense of peace. And thus, our meditation is a practical thing. It has actual value in our everyday experience. Yes, peace can feel elusive. Inner peace, sometimes we're going to fall off that peace wagon. But we choose not to fight to regain our peace. Instead, we can observe our frothing at the mouth, spitting mad feelings. We watch them arise, we forgive ourselves, and we climb right back on that peace train. Really knowing that peace is mind resting in the realization that God is all there is. I think Carlos Santana says it best. The most valuable possession you can own is an open heart, and the most powerful weapon you can be is an instrument of peace. So please join me in consciousness. Resting in that realization that God is all there is, the only thing that is. We are in conscious unity with that inner principle of our life, that underlying current flowing from a divine center, pressing ever through our lives for expression. Within every person, there is a divine pattern of perfect peace already implanted. We trust that. We trust the absolute goodness and the integrity of the universe in which we live. So I know that resting in that that healing happens now. That there is no struggle. We have released the struggle, and we are allowing God to run our lives. So, we have our divine creativity expressing in our career. We have abundance. We have our relationships in order. There is peace right where our relationships are, whether it's with our beloved, our children, our career, our workplace. That we have a spiritual path that allows us to be in love, that supports us to be in peace, to rest in the realization that God is all that there is. We can just relax into allowing God to circulate in our lives, moving through all of our life structures, all of those areas in which we express into. Knowing that we are birthed from a place of absolute balance, that everything is in divine right order in our lives, that we can trust that our highest good is unfolding, and we choose to observe it. And in observing it, it multiplies. Just by sitting in these seats, I know that we are in agreement, that we are at peace. That the peace within is greater than what we can conceive. But we do not deny it. We know it. We allow it. We breathe it in. We breathe it out, acknowledging it's circulating always in our lives, through all areas of our lives. I am so very grateful to be here in this center for all of us doing this work, knowing this truth, allowing God to express through us here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills. And so I just release my word, the living word, into the action of the law, knowing that it's done. So I will invite all of us to affirm this by saying, and so it is. Amen.
There is only love.